Hi everybody, Jeremy Siskind here. I'm the author of the Jazz Piano Fundamentals series. I'm the author of Solo Standards for Piano. Check it out if you haven't. It's good stuff. And I'm the author of Playing Solo Jazz Piano, a classic. Or so I'm told. And today I wanted to talk about a tune that I'm learning, but give you some context as composers, songwriters, and people who are trying to understand this music for how we might think of a short jazz tune or composition. And so I'm kind of just interested, I'm fascinated by this definition of the word encyclopedia. I know this feels like a digression. We haven't even started the video and I'm already doing a digression. Here, we can have it at that size. So apparently the meaning of this word encyclopedia is a circle of knowledge, right? Meaning that everything in the book should refer to something else, right? If you search for Thelonious Monk, maybe it'll start talking about a jazz pianist living in New York City, and then you can in these days link to New York City, and it will say the biggest city in New York State, that's the center of culture, including Broadway, and then you can link to Broadway, and it will say a street in New York that's known for a prevalence of musical theater, then you click to musical theater, et cetera, right? That you should never really have any dead ends in an encyclopedia. Why am I telling you this? Because I think that this is what a good jazz tune is as well. Everything in a good jazz tune, in my opinion, should refer or should have something to do with something else in that jazz tune. Now, this is somewhat simple. If you're writing an AABA tune, the A sections are going to repeat an awful lot. But as we get into more complicated forms, I always encourage students and try for myself to make things highly related. As I'm trying to write new sections or contrasting sections, I don't just try to pull them out of thin air. I don't think, what would be a nice melody? I look at what I've already written, and through some combination of brain work and just instincts, try to come up with the next melody. Maybe I'll use an interval as the inspiration. Maybe I'll use a gestural shape as inspiration. Maybe I'll use a harmonic progression as inspiration. And so I've been learning a really lovely tune for an upcoming performance. If anybody's in South Texas, I'm going to be in Kingston, Texas at the end of January. And I've been asked to learn this tune called New Autumn by Harold Danko. And I'll share with you guys that there's a personal reason I was asked to learn this tune is that I'm doing a duo with a great pianist there named Teresa Chen, and we both studied with Harold at Eastman. So what I want to do is I want to show you this tune, and then I want to describe in which ways I think it's an encyclopedia and how that can help you learn this tune or another jazz tune. And then I want to kind of play at the end and show you how I would play on this tune, New Autumn. Check out Harold's original recording. There's an album called New Autumn. It's very lovely. So here is my lead sheet. Let me just play it for you kind of straight so that you get a sense of what it sounds like. Really nice tune, right? It reminds me a little bit. Do you guys know the Tad Dameron tune On a Misty Night? I can't quite pull it out, I think, spontaneously, but it's got kind of those same descending half notes. So why am I thinking of this tune? Why did I think about this concept of an encyclopedia when I came across this tune? Well, I definitely feel like this tune has two main motifs and that they just kind of keep repeating. So the first main motif is this really kind of interesting. This is just a C major 7 arpeggio played downwards with a little hitch in it, right? If we reverse the position of the G and the E, then we get D, B, G, E, C. I can't sing that low. So we essentially have this, stack of thirds, or we can think of it as a 7th chord and 9th chord arpeggio with a slight variation. But I think it's worth thinking of this as an arpeggio. And you could see, obviously, that kind of repeats in bars 5 through 9. And then we have what I would consider our second theme. So if our first theme is essentially stacked thirds or a 7th or 9th chord arpeggio, this one is approaching thirds in a different way. We're doing this. And I imagine I'm starting from here because it's a little clearer, I think, to see a third down, a fourth up, a third down, a fourth up. So I could imagine if that pattern were to keep going, right, it's this kind of alternating pattern. I'll show you what it looks like. I will not, because that app is not working for me, which is always great. It's not plugged in or something. Okay, well, we'll come back to that maybe. Another successful job by YouTube star Jeremy Siskind. Okay, and so you can see that comes back again in bar 13, just in a different key. And these keys are not random. They're also moving by thirds. In fact, they're moving by major thirds. We're going C, E, A flat, C, basically spelling out an augmented triad. So you know how they do like meals like beef 6 ways. This is like thirds 3 ways. We have descending thirds, kind of linked thirds, interlocking thirds, you might call it, and we have harmonies moving by thirds. So listen to these first 16 bars again, because then the second 16 bars are almost like a development in some ways of this concept. So let's hear it. 2-5. Cool. All right, so now let's look at the second half of the tune. And the first 4 bars are exactly the same as the first half. And so it's presenting that first theme. Now, line 21 and 25 both really interest me. Let's take the second half of this line, of each line first. What are we doing in the second half of each line? We're descending through a 7th chord. It's a little bit less obvious to see in 27 and 28 in the second one, but it's actually obvious to hear. It's actually a diminished 7th chord, so it's a little bit different. But each of the intervals here are at least heard, if not spelled, as thirds. And by the way, this is kind of my fault because I decided how to do the accidentals here. So apologies that it's not a little bit more obviously. Now, 21 and 25 are a little bit less obvious, but they definitely relate to the B theme. They're not exactly doing interlocking thirds, but look at what is the same. They have the same rhythm as the B theme. Look at measure 9 and measure 21, right? Measure 21. And then measure 25, again, has that same exact rhythm. Now, measure 21 has one more similarity, which is that just like measure 9 and measure 13, it starts with the leap of a fourth. So I think this is actually really clever composing, because these two lines combine our two themes, right? This is what really good composers do, like at the end of a sonata, but Harold's doing it all in the course of 32 bars. So listen to now how the second 16 bars sounds. So very cool, very tight composing. There's not really any moment that's not related to one of these two themes. I mean, I guess we could nitpick and we could say that these melodies here, I don't know if you saw what I just circled in red, like those aren't exactly related, but they're a little bit more functional. They're kind of helping us perform the harmonic tasks that we have at hand. One last thing I should mention about the composition before I play on it a little while for you, which is that I shouldn't ignore the chords here because they're the biggest kind of departure harmonically. And so here we have what we would call contrary motion. The melody is clearly ascending, and the bass line is clearly descending. So we get this nice kind of splitting apart. And this is something that's very typical in a lot of genres, from classical to jazz. And it's kind of interesting because we have all of these melodies that have these really clear directions. So it's nice to see the bass and the melody going in opposite ways. All right, so let me play a little bit on this tune for you because I think it's a really fun tune to play, and I could use the practice if I'm being honest. So here's a little bit of me playing New Autumn by Harold Danko. Hopefully you can see and hear to your liking. Enjoy. Thanks, everybody. If you watched this far, thank you for watching. And I'm going to send the video to Harold, so say hi to Harold in the comments if you watch this far. All right, everybody, take care.